Okay, well, this is my presentation for English language learning and technology. I also plan to use this for my video classes, and Mr. McCormick, who is a coworker, plans to use it in some of his technology classes as well. So basically, this video is about electrical safety. This is a really important topic for me in the business technology department at our school. Again, Mr. McCormick and I, probably more so than the other people, needed to create materials on safety. As I works with a lot of equipment with actually taking out the computer lab. So I'm going to start off with two clips, some takes from me and then another take from Mr. McCormick, and then go through the rest of the prezi. All right, we're back here. So right now, Mac and I have just set up some electrical cables, one XLR cable, one BNC with a water bottle. So
the enemy of all electronics.
This being the enemy can cause some serious damage. I'm going to tell you a story real quick that's a true story. One of my friends worked at Channel 7 News, and actually the whole entire news shoot for the 11 o'clock news couldn't go on air. Do you want to know why, Tom?
Why, Kevin?
Somebody...
Not Mr. Boucher.
Okay, that's okay. So why? One person actually had a soda bottle filled with soda right in front of their switcher and had it open and actually hit it with his elbow, and it hit the whole entire switcher, freeze the broadcast. They had to actually call out an engineer to repair it because, you know, soda, obviously the sugar and stuff does not mix well with the electrical circuitry in the board. So that was a huge, huge mistake. And it's one of my biggest fears here with you guys. So just remember, like, anytime you're around cameras, computers, this should never go into the control room. Liquids, foods should never, ever, ever be in our control room, ever. And that's one of the, you know, main causes of concerns for me as a video teacher. And I'm sure you have the same
Computers
worries.
as well, absolutely. It is the enemy of all electronics. You have to be very, very cognizant of that.
The next thing that we started to talk about is we have our power cables here, power strips. And these are awesome. They help you in obvious situations, you know, charge multiple devices, multiple computers, whatever have you at once. But the problem is if you start to do this, right, because we don't have enough electrical, say we need like 10 devices, and we got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then inputs here. So we're gonna do this, right? We're gonna do this, and then we'll bridge off this power strip over here. This is what we call daisy chaining. This is not safe. You can do it, but I would never have this not being supervised. So what do I mean by this? I've daisy chained, but like I want to be in the room when this charging is happening just to make sure that no short circuits happen, no electrical like discharges happening where there's a fire safety issue and starts a fire. So if you're ever daisy chaining, you need to be there to supervise. But if you can avoid daisy chaining, it's best to avoid.
It's better to plug it into the end of this into the wall. And it also acts for a computer as a surge protector to make sure there isn't a spike that comes through the line that could ruin your computer. So though it's got a built-in surge protector, we'll talk about that a little bit more later.
Okay, so the last part of this, before we head down to Mr. McCormick's room and open up a computer and do the last part of our video, is, for me, wrapping up cables, specifically XLR cable, specifically BNC cable. This is your standard audio cable, this is your standard video cable. Now they're actually getting kind of mixed, and you have what's called an HDMI cable, where you have audio and video into one cable. But for the longest time, this is what we use in the audio video industry. So I have a basic cable here. These cables, they get expensive. They run up to, you know, 20, 30 bucks a piece. So if we're spending to replace cables every year, we're not buying cameras, we're not buying new technology that we need to give our students that need to advance to college or wherever to work afterwards. Basically, everybody really needs a good concept of, you know, how to make a video in AV. So if we're wasting money, we're not getting new equipment is the bottom line. So when we wrap up a cable, it's very important. You don't do this. I see that a lot. You can do that with electrical. You don't do that with an audio cable. when you wrap an audio or video cable, you like to, extend it out a little bit. This is what I call kind of manipulating the cable, getting it to be flexible again. I take the end, and then I take my hand here, and I just spin. And I want it to be like a circle at the end, and I want it to be able to look something similar to this. This way the cable will last longer, okay? Same thing with the BNC. Manipulate the cable. This is always my first step, is manipulate the cable and then wrap it. If it's doing like this or kinking or doing that, the cable's going to get damaged. That's what's called kinking. So make sure you wrap it right. It should be almost in a circular fashion, just like that.
And you don't grab it by the head.
Right. The head being here up top.
You don't grab it, you grab it by the wire and spin it that way.
Okay, so that is it for now. Please.
Well, we're going downstairs.
Yep, join us. Stay tuned as we go into the last part of the video. We're gonna come back into the actual Prezi. Back out a little bit, and let me. So, here's his take on electrical safety.
Welcome to the dungeon.
Welcome to the dungeon. We're back, as my friend Mr. McCormick would say. This is the last section of the video where we just wanted to talk about a couple more details that we've alluded to the previous part of the video regarding electrical safety. And today is going to be more focused in the computer lab and working with computers. Before I kick it over to Tom, Mr. McCormack, I did want to show one more quick thing. In the previous section, I talked about risers, like ways to protect cables when people are around. I like to use this. If I can tuck a let me say this first. If I can tuck a cable away and I know nobody's gonna like walk over it, it's not like a general area where there's a lot of foot traffic, then that's my preference. But if I have to tape around like a doorway or someplace where people are gonna be walking, I like to use these because that way the cable sticks out more. And what I do is I put the cable in these little folds here, and then I cut out my section, so how long the cable is, and then I tape that to the ground. And it's really helpful. I do it in my room because I have a couple of areas where like there are cables but people walk near. And again, it's just safety. The other good thing too is, like I said, this helps protect from water too if anybody spills water near the cable because it's rubber. All right, so I'm just going to put this down, and Mr. McCormack, you can go.
That's ideal for having to go across an aisle or something like that, so nobody trips over it, as we showed in the other video we did earlier. And to get back to the safety issue, we are very, very concerned about our students' safety. That's our key thought here. The other thing is we really don't want any of our equipment to be damaged. We don't have a lot of money for this stuff, and we want to make sure that what we have keeps running. So I want to just give you a couple of quick hints about inside the computer and what you need to do. So we can open the computer up like this. We have the inside. Now, in order to do this correctly, what we would make sure that the computer is never plugged in when you open it up. And then after you make sure that you hit the power button, so you're going to drain whatever energy is in there off the computer. Then there's several ways to make sure that you don't have an ESD or an electrostatic discharge. You can use the wrist bracelet. You can use a pad that you put the computer down on. You want to be very careful. Remember, the enemy of all electronics is water, so we want to be very careful about that. When you get inside this thing, you want to be very, very careful about what you do. Every computer comes apart a little bit differently. You want to be very jaundiced with how you take things apart. You want to be very careful as you take it apart that you take a picture with your phone so you know where all the wires go back in afterwards. It is crucial to do that. So the electrostatic discharge can ruin a memory stick, anything in the computer, and it can completely damage the part, or it can damage it a little bit, and then it would take you forever to figure out that it's damaged because it'll look fine until you put it under pressure, and then it'll fail on you. So it's important to have a good toolkit here, folks. It's important that we don't have the electrostatic discharge. It's important that you pay attention when you're working on your computers. You want to always pay attention. You don't want to be fooling around with your classmates. You want to stay focused on the job as you would be if this is a real job, because hopefully this is preparing our students for a real job one day, whether it's film, whether it's computer repair. All of these things are what we are here, real world skills for our students. And even if you don't do it as a career, at least you understand how this stuff works and you can work with it on your own at home. Kevin, can you add something to that?
Yeah, just some final thoughts is we're not trying to do this video to scare anybody, just more to make you aware of, good practices to use when you're using equipment and when you're out in the field or you're in the computer lab, because it's not only like your safety that you're impacting, I think people forget this, but other people's safety. Like if we put a cable in the wrong place, somebody trips, they could get seriously injured. If they're elderly, they could hit their head, and that could be a real catastrophe.
Like me.
If somebody gets electrocuted, there's just a lot of things to consider. And like I said, my favorite thing to tell the students is, if you're not sure, just raise your hand. I'd rather you ask a question and we do it right, or we train you right before something negative happens.
Yeah, just don't go bull into something. Take your time, make sure it's right. If you don't understand, you can ask a classmate. If they can't help you, you ask me. We make sure you learn right out of the box. Very, very important. We are very hands-on and we're very supportive of all of our students.
All right, I think that's about it. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure when you're done that you complete your post-survey.
Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this, and we really appreciate it. Thank you very much from the IT and
Video production
Video
department.
Production Department. Thank you. Excellent. Most awesome.
So that was basically our video that we showed electrical safety with. So now I'm going to just come back real quickly in the Prezi, and I just wanted to go over a couple more details. So number one, why is electrical safety important? As you can tell from the video, it keeps you protected from injury, prevents you from injuring someone else, and that's really big because you don't want to get sued. Saves money because equipment doesn't break, and prepares you to work as an audio-video technician or, in fact, any other trade. Some tools. Some good ones that we talked about were work gloves. This aids in burn prevention, and I can tell you firsthand, I suffered a third-degree burn one time taking off a light. I put my hand not on the light, but on the actual metal stand, and the heat radiated on the stand, touched it without my gloves, and really burnt my hand pretty badly. And it was painful. The simple toolkit that we showed, this allows for preventative maintenance. So you constantly want to check your equipment, see what's broken, see if any screws are loose, and then again, surge protectors. We talked about that with electrical equipment. Okay, appropriate clothes, no. So clothes that you don't want to wear. Don't want to wear very loose clothing that can catch on equipment. Open-toed shoes are bad. Open-toed shoes are tough because if something ever fell on your toe, you could break your foot. Clothes with hoods or front pouches, pockets that don't zip up, tank tops, and clothes that expose a lot of skin. Appropriate clothes, yes. Jeans are cool, they work well. Sneakers, work boots, t-shirt, either long sleeve or traditional. Colors that blend in and don't distract. Hip side fanny packs and clothes with zippered pockets. Some tips for me, be aware of your situation, especially when laying out cables. If you can do a location scout to see where you can put your cables and see if you can avoid like doorways or traffic areas, like high areas or walking traffic. That's always important. We've got the cable guards there, the risers, if you're going to have your cables or your wires in an area where there's a lot of traffic. Very important, no food or drink, as this can destroy electrical equipment or like specific audio video production equipment. Proper dress wear, and wrap your cables correctly. And again, no daisy chaining. Some of the tips that Tom pointed out, Mr. McCormack, always think before you start. Shut off the computers before you open it up. Take a picture of the wires at the beginning. This will help you put the device back together. Watch out for electronic discharge. And again, no food or drink and no daisy chaining. Alright, so what can I do to make sure I'm safe? I think follow the rules from the video. Pretty self-explanatory. Review any instructor resources or safety contracts. I have that specifically in my class. We go over it at the beginning of term. Think before you act. You know, common sense goes a long way out in the field. Dress safely, we talked about that. And again, ask the teacher if you have any questions or issues that pop out. We rather answer questions than pay for broken equipment or have to write reports for injured children. Fires, have a fire extinguisher present. Make sure that they are clearly marked and that they are up to date. Finally, reporting injuries. Tell your supervisor immediately, especially me, your teacher. We have the local emergency numbers posted. Properly fill out any paperwork and retain a copy. I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to this report. Take care and have a good day.